So Nick will not be on, and Renee may be late or may not be able to make it. She has a meeting at 4. Craig will be on, but croaky. And there he is.
And I'm gonna start recording.
Okay. Okay, just waiting another minute to see if anyone else will be joining us. No attendees? Marisa? Nope.
Actually, quite a few people signed up, you know, as
Yeah.
which is not a few people, more
Yeah.
than one person signed up for exec, which is a lot.
Okay, then I'll quickly, for the record, go through my usual hubba. Okay, so this is the executive meeting of Community Board 5, and we meet once a month to be apprised by each committee chair of actions that have taken place at the committee level or reports at what was discussed, if no action, which leads us to our main purpose, which is to form and finalize the agenda for the full board meeting. So we seldom take action. On rare occasions we do in emergency situations, but no actions tonight, so there will be no voting on any issues. If there is anyone attending from the public, so far there isn't, but they can sign in as an attendee, obviously. And again, we'll not be deliberating or voting this evening. And that means that we can move right into our discussion. Let me just, okay. I have a couple of things I just wanted to mention. Hang on one second. So just a update that regarding the kiosks, the information that I sent to everyone, Marisa is going to be working with the company on the messages that are going to appear on the kiosks. You know, this has to do with proper and legal responsibilities of pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists. You all know David Aquiles and the 50th, what does he call it? 50s Neighborhood Association, 50s Neighborhood Association has asked us to do this, and David has done a lot of initial work on it. So Marisa will touch base with David as well, because he has reached out to some other community boards. I think we'd really like to see this be a citywide effort with messages from all the community boards. And my feeling is, and I think everyone seemed to agree, that the wording should be the same from all the community boards. So that's just an update on that. And then a reminder, reappointment forms. Any of you who are up for reappointment, get those forms in if you haven't already. I'm going to be reminding everyone on Thursday. Right now we have 9 vacancies and the possibility of another 3 by April 1st. That takes us down to, what did we say, 38 or 39, Marisa? Yeah. Not good. Although, you know, I've often said that if we're up around 44, 45, or 46, and we have 44, 45, 46 really good people on the board, I'm not concerned that we're missing 3 or 4. I'd rather have really good members than have, you know, 4 people on who really aren't, you know, being a part of the community board in the way they should be. But 9, 10, it's way too much. So I wanted to just say regarding recruiting, ask any of your outstanding public members if they would be interested in joining as full members. Maybe you can get them to come on as a full member of the board. And keep your antenna out for anyone who might regularly tune into your committee meetings. People who have been either outstanding participants or speakers at a particular committee meeting, and they could be recruited maybe for either a full board or a public membership on the board. So just keep that in mind. Those are all the announcements I have, which takes us into going over our resolutions.
Vicky, a question on
Yes,
that.
sure.
Have you or Marisa, maybe you might have heard, have you heard from the borough president? Have they been getting a lot of people applying? Because I thought I heard somewhere that they haven't, applications aren't up this year. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know if it's true.
We're still pretty low.
Okay.
From what we were told, right, Marisa? I mean, some boards have hundreds of applications, and I think she said we had 50 the other day, Marisa, didn't she say
I
that?
haven't heard the number for this year yet.
Yeah,
So, but we're going to be talking to her within the next week or two
right.
about board appointments specifically. So we'll know then. And if anybody has any questions about their particular reappointment slot, just you can reach out to me. I have the list here. So if you're unsure if you're up this year, just let
They
me.
should have gotten reminders, right? I think from Brian.
They should have, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you
Okay.
didn't, you're
Okay.
not sure.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else have any comments? Oh, hi, Kim. Okay, so let's move into our issues for the month, starting with landmarks. Layla?
All right, so we had 2 applications this month. The first one is 222 Fifth Avenue. This is in the Madison Square North Historic District. This is an application for a rooftop addition. It is almost entirely non-visible from any thoroughfares. The visibility is this tiny little sliver. And actually, this application was about to be approved at staff level, but somehow because there is a rear yard addition that was built in 1922, which is after the original building was completed, somehow it triggered this public hearing. We were delighted to have them. The applicant was very gracious. We felt that this minute visibility was really not an issue. They gave us a very good presentation and we voted to approve unanimously. I don't have the vote in front of me, but I think from memory, I think it was 12-0-0.
Okay, seemed pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anybody have any questions or comments about the resolution or the issue? Okay, what was the other one, Layla?
Okay, the second application is 1155 Broadway. This is at the corner with 27th Street. This application, we're actually still unclear what the application is for. The applicant presented both a very large awning that he claims is going to be approved at staff level, which is, very unlikely. Some illuminated signage as well as non-illuminated signage. We've actually been trying to get a hold of the application itself, which has proven to be difficult. But in any case, we basically weighed in on all these aspects that the applicant presented to us. Based on our experience, all of those would trigger a public review. So, just in case we commented on everything. The awning is gigantic. This particular building came to us 3 years ago with a master plan, and none of these elements that were present, and we approved the master plan, none of these elements are actually in compliance with the master plan. Illuminated signage. So this is also a building in the Madison Square North Historic District. Illuminated signage is not appropriate for the district. So, for all these reasons, and also for the fact that the applicant was, very, his presentation was very poor, was not able to answer some basic questions. We voted unanimously to deny this application.
Okay.
And the vote, I think, was similar, 12-0-0.
Also pretty straightforward. If they
Yeah,
don't comply with their own master plan, hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Leila, since we have a lot of new people on, you want to quickly talk about the change in the last few years regarding going straight to the, to LPC versus having things done at the staff level?
Yes, sure. So in the past, actions that would trigger a public review were many, many more. And in order to basically expedite matters, there was a big rule change probably 4 or 5 years ago, that basically determined that a number of actions and alterations to buildings can be approved at staff level. And they include, window replacements and all sorts of things that are actually pretty, pretty major and significant for buildings, but the staff has the authority to basically review and approve those applications. So now when we see applications that trigger a public hearing, it means that, the work that is being done is really extensive and really, pretty significant. And in that particular case, not only is it significant, but it also veers pretty dramatically from the master plan that was approved 3 years ago.
Why would they say that it probably will be approved at staff level, just for the sake of saying it?
It honestly, the applicant was, the information that they gave us was, tentative, and, they did not seem to really understand the process necessarily. So, were they trying to mislead us? I don't think so. I think, they were confused, and, we tried to give them as much guidance as we could. We really encouraged them, to speak with the staff at LPC and try to figure out, what would be a more, acceptable and appropriate, set of alterations. But they would definitely benefit from the help and assistance from an architect. I think it was the restaurant owner who came to present. So, the information, I'm not sure that they were perfectly, cognizant of all the rules.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. All right. Going right into land use, Leila?
Sure. We had 5 actions on the agenda that resulted in 4 resolutions. We had 3 applications. I'm going to start with those. The first application, actually all the applications were for open air cafes in POPs. The first one is located at 1345 6th Avenue. Very large POPs with an application for a very large open air cafe footprint for 2 establishments that currently exist. One restaurant is Mama Sushi Mama. I can't remember the name. It's somewhere it's not totally relevant to the application anyway, but Wagamama. And the other one is Something Bistro, 2 really large restaurants, and the proposed open air cafe is very large, located on the northern side of the POPs. The POPs wraps entirely around the footprint of the building. We received some comments from members of the public with some complaints about noise nuisance that was pretty persistent in 2022. Some concerns also about a restaurant shed that is currently located on the roadbed of 53rd Street, which is the cross street, that basically runs the entire length of the frontage of the building. Very, very large restaurant shed. Another issue that was raised is that actually the restaurant shed is separated from the curb by a bike lane that is heavily used. So basically, patrons and waiters have to cross this bike lane to access the shed. The cafe footprint, as I said, is very large. There were some concerns that actually, chairs and tables would sort of like spill beyond what is permissible. The applicant in attendance was actually not the restaurant operator, but it was the property owner / manager. They did not really have any answers for the questions and concerns that the committee raised, including they were not aware of the noise nuisance. They were not able to, provide some sort of guarantee that, some mitigation measures would be taken. It was a vague, "Oh yeah, we'll look into it" kind of response. Community Board 5 is on record basically asking that any open air cafe seating be available to members of the public without need for purchase. The applicant was not agreeable to that. And for all these reasons, we voted unanimously to deny the application.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? I think we do that automatically if they don't have seating for the public. Am I right?
This is very standard and typical. Yes,
Right.
We always look at the merits, but certainly this is our position. And I would also mention that we asked whether they would provide access to the restaurant bathrooms for public use, and they also refused.
They also
Refused.
refused. Okay. Lovely.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just caught a quick typo that I listed Layla's name twice, and the correct total was 1300.
Thank you, Mary.
Good.
Sure.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, the next one, Layla.
The next one is 1185 Broadway. The cross street is 28. This is located in a very large new hotel. This is a brand new Pops and a brand new open air cafe. There was so the Pops is actually on the side street, bounded by walls on each side, and it is of pretty generous size. This Pops actually generated a bonus floor area for the building. And towards the back of the Pops, the area is actually the lobby of the hotel, as well as a bar, a large bar. The restaurant, there is a restaurant that is not directly adjacent to the Pop. So there was, the applicant is proposing to install an open air cafe, fairly large. The amount of space coverage is in compliance. We didn't have any issue with that, but we did have issues with the fact that, it looks like there's going to be quite heavy lounge bar type of activity that will spill into this outdoor area. And we do appreciate that, the area is becoming increasingly residential. We know that there are some residential buildings directly adjacent to or across the street from this particular site. So we had concerns about that. We did request, as is customary, that seating be not exclusively reserved for patrons, but that members of the public could use the seating without need for purchase. The applicant refused. We asked if they would provide access to a bathroom for members of the public. They also refused, and we asked some guarantees about the level of noise and music and any amplified sound that would be used, and they assured us that it would be within what is reasonable, but at the same time would not make any specific commitment. So for all these reasons, we voted to deny the application
Unanimously, right?
unanimously.
We go from one extreme to the other. Remember, what was it, last month or the month before? At 6.5, we had them agree to everything.
Well, wait, there's hope. I'm keeping the best for last.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that one? Okay, what's the last one?
All right, and then the last one is 31 West 52nd Street. The operator is Fogo de Chao. This is our poster child. They agreed to all our stipulations 3 years ago. They came for a renewal. They were just such a joy to work with. They agreed with all our stipulations. They will let their interior bathroom, they provide use to members of the public. They have signage that clearly identifies that the seating is not reserved for paying patrons, and that it can be used by anyone without need for purchase. They agreed to, they actually had redone the sign because it was more conducive to really the way they run their business. They apologized that they didn't show us the sign ahead of starting to use it, and we told them it was fine because we have all this opportunity to see them again every 3 years. It was a love fest. We approved it unanimously, and I think we were still at 1300.
Thank goodness. Okay, any questions or comments on that one, other than a yay? That's good. Before you go on to the next, what are the cross streets at, what is the cross street at 1345 6th? What's that?
I believe that it's, Mary, help me there. Is it
54th and 55th.
54, 55th?
And that's in the resolution, in the heading?
I believe so. I will double check.
Okay, we always, just as a reminder, for all resolutions, always put in the exact location, not just the address.
Yeah.
And 1185 would be, what would be?
That is, I think that is 28th Street.
28th. Okay, and 31 West 50th.
This is between 5th and 6th.
5th and 6th, okay. Okay. New York State funding for Penn Station.
All right, so we had, it is budget season in Albany, and this is the time of year where, we take this opportunity to comment on budget issues that have to do with Albany that are not part of BEX, which deals with the city budget. We have two items on the agenda. The first one is the FAR cap lift. As you may know, in the multiple dwelling law, which is a state law, the FAR for residential buildings, so the floor area ratio for residential buildings is capped at 12. A building can be denser than 12, but then it would have to have a commercial office space component. But strictly for residential, you cannot go beyond a 12 floor area ratio. There has been an introduction of a proposal probably for the past, I don't know exactly when it was first introduced, but it is not the first time that it is introduced in the executive budget that would basically lift the floor area ratio and basically leave it open. So it's not like it would shift the cursor to a higher density. It would basically just eliminate it. We are on record for the past 2 years opposing the lift. We believe that the way it is crafted, it is very open-ended. There is no guarantee that any additional density would be strictly dedicated to affordable housing or public housing. And also it is very unclear that this lift would actually cause the construction of significant numbers of housing units. What we tend to see in our district is that because, taller buildings command, a higher price on the luxury market. Typically, what we see is actually an excess of very, very large apartments, penthouse type that, sell to a very small, section of our population that, I can't even call it residential because a lot of it is vacant. So we are on record, for the past 2 years, basically against the FAR cap lift. So we did discuss the matter at committee, and the committee felt that, given nothing has changed, we did not have a need to actually bring it back to the full board. Would that change, in the subsequent years, we will review it, but the committee felt that the reso that we passed last year and the year before was materially still standing.
So it was a year ago that we did the last one.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we've been reviewing it, for the past 2 years. So this is the third year that, we're discussing the issue.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Yeah, I have a quick question. It's because I was a little confused by looking at the draft resolutions. So is this like on the end of the Penn Station one? Are we not voting on this? Do we have to vote to like send it back, like to email it to the governor again? Or is it just an FYI type thing?
So basically the resolution that we passed last year and the year before is, the committee felt that it was consistent with the facts and that, our position has not, that nothing has changed materially and that our position still stands. So we will send the resolution that we drafted last year to the governor to basically notify her and the legislature that our position is unchanged.
Got it. And we will not be voting on sending, right? It's just like, because nothing's changed. Okay. Yeah, I guess I was just confused why it was in the draft resolutions, but I guess you just explained it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Leila, do you want to give an explanation at the full board?
I mean, if you feel that it's useful, I'm happy to do that. Sure.
Have you ever had questions? I mean, since it's only a year ago, I think it's okay. I don't think you really have to. I was just wondering if you felt that it was important, since it was discussed at committee level, right?
Yeah, we did discuss it, and I felt it was really important to make this decision collegially. The committee felt unanimously that there was no need to actually send it to full board for a vote, that our position from last year still stood, but at the same time it's probably useful to give a quick report on it. I'm fine with that.
Okay, very good.
I have a question about this one too. I guess if we're stating to the governor that we're reasserting this position that we made a year ago, I guess, is there a reason why we wouldn't ask the full board to vote on it again? Which would allow for, a conversation about it in the full board meeting?
Well, conversations really happen at committee. So, and that's why I put it on the agenda at committee and, made sure that the committee discussed it. Typically a position that we've taken, whether it is on, sidewalk cafes or, and any other matters, we, unless there's something material that has changed, we don't review it every year. I wanted to make sure that, we're still, that nothing has changed and that we had this conversation at committee. And, the committee unanimously felt that, the position that we had taken the prior year was consistent and that nothing material had changed, and that therefore there was no need to refer it to full board.
Okay,
that's Joseph, that's true in all our committees, that sometimes, we take a position 1 or 2 or 3 years ago, and we'll just kind of update at the committee level. Were there any changes that would require us really taking a long, hard look at this and then voting again. And if there are none, then that one stands. And I think it's important because it shows that the consistency of what we're saying is true. If we're sending a resolution from last year, again, it means that still stands for Community Board 5, and we wouldn't send it out without making sure that there were no substantial changes. Am I right, Leila?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So
Okay.
I guess I just want to make sure that like when it's sent to the governor, it'll be framed as, you know, a reminder of a resolution we passed last year rather than, you know, a new resolution that was voted upon this year.
Yeah,
Correct?
Yeah, yeah,
can
good
do that.
point. Absolutely,
Yeah, that's a
absolutely.
good point. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else?
Not on my end. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, and then the second and final budget item that we discussed has to do with Penn Station funding. So, you know, once again, given that it is budget season in Albany, we felt that it was a good idea to basically summarize all the funding financing comments that we have made in our numerous resolutions as they pertain to the GPP, the general project plan that would see the construction of 18 million square feet of office space around Penn Station. This plan has been devised as a funding scheme to fund Penn Station, and you know, through the numerous analysis by the IBO, the state controller, and others, including former Lieutenant Governor Dick Ravitch. You know, it is pretty unanimously understood that this funding scheme is going to be a liability rather than an asset, and that, you know, it is really urgent for the governor and the legislature to pivot and find you know, a different funding scheme. I mean, we all agree that Penn Station needs to be fixed, and if we just bank on the GPP, it is really likely that, you know, the money will not be there, and that would be just devastating. So the resolution that we passed is basically saying, you know, the GPP doesn't work, it needs to be retired, and another funding scheme needs to be found. We flag 4 different sources of funding. The first one is, you know, the pool of federal funding that does exist through the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed by President Biden now a year and a half ago. There is really ample funding through this pool of money, of federal money. And we believe, and we know that Penn Station is eligible for that kind of funding. Other source of funding is actually just issuing bonds, you know, like state bonds, general bonds, through the budget process. Something that was already done actually by Cuomo in 2021. There is currently $1.2 billion that are appropriated and, you know, sit quietly in the budget and can be used for upgrades at Penn Station. The third source of funding is what is known as the Environmental Bond Act, which is a bond act proposition that was on the ballot in November that voters voted actually overwhelmingly to approve. This has a pool of $4.2 billion available. Not all of it would be, I mean, Penn Station would not be eligible for all of it. You know, some of it is really for conservation, for, you know, cleaning bodies of water, including like, you know, the Hudson River, that kind of stuff. But certainly some of this funding could be used for Penn Station. And finally, we know that Amtrak is also going to receive a very generous infusion of funding from the federal government. And given that they own the train station and that they are, you know, obviously a major operator of the station, they should also contribute to the funding. So, you know, overall, we are basically saying that, you know, we need to move away from this very risky funding scheme and encouraging the legislature as well as the executive chamber to actually shift to more reliable sources of funding for Penn Station.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Leila, when Biden and Buttigieg came, didn't they come to Hudson Yards to make an announcement? Is this what the money that, no, there was.
No, but at this, so the money that they came to announce is specifically for the for what is known as the Gateway Tunnel. It's actually not
Right.
even for the tunnel, it is actually for the concrete casing that
Oh,
is going to
right,
go from the like when the tunnel comes out of like from below the river, and it's basically the casing that goes from the end of the tunnel that is in Manhattan and goes to Penn Station. So this is
Yeah.
what the funding was for. But at the same time, it is significant because it is a very, it's $400 million. In the grand scheme of things, it is a very small amount. The tunnel is going to cost 16 billion. But it is significant because it really means that the president and the Secretary of Transportation are really focused on that. And it is, and I think that we need to thank our Senator Chuck Schumer, who has basically, been drilling a hole in their heads saying, gateway, funding for the past, probably, 10 years. And it is starting to pay off. So,
Okay. Great.
we can hope that, Senator Schumer is going to continue to do this, great work and advocating for funding for not only the tunnel, but also Penn Station.
Great. Thanks, Leila. Okay, anyone else? If not, we will move on to the joint meeting of Parks and Public Spaces and Transportation. Is that you, Craig?
Yeah, I'll do it.
With a sore throat, I know.
Yeah, no. So I will try to be brief, but if Kim and EJ, if you want to chime in, if there's anything I'm missing, certainly chime in. So this is the annual applications that we get from each of the 6 post-parade events that happened around Madison Square Park. The Sikh Cultural Society on April 23rd, the Persian Parade on April 29th, the Philippine Independence Day, Sunday, June 4th, the Federation of Indian Association, Sunday, August 30th, Pakistan Day Festival, Sunday, August 27th, and the Muslim Foundation of America, Sunday, September 24th. Last year, we had an unfortunate situation, and it was nobody's fault. It was just with, I think, Passover and Easter just happened to be that way. We had 2 events on the same weekend. We don't have that this year, thankfully. They're a bit more spaced. So these events happen after the parades around Madison Square Park. They come to us every year. I speak to SAPO beforehand. For those of you who don't know, SAPO is the Street Activities Permit Office who issues the permits and coordinates this for the city. Last couple of years, each of these events have had no major issues. Going back 4, 5, 6 years, there used to be several issues from some of them, sanitation or sound, but there haven't been any issues in the last couple of years. There were no significant site changes. They're all, and you'll see in the resolution, roughly in the same area they were last year on Madison between 24th and 26th, some of them 25th and 26th, but it's all the same as last year. Each of the participants has to submit a sanitation profile, sound profile, security profile, cell phone contact information for their events. They've all submitted that. It was all satisfactory. They've all coordinated with our friends at Madison Square Park Conservancy. So there were no issues this year. We were all generally happy. This Conservancy was happy with how things went last year as well. So this was approved by the Joint Committee. And as a reminder, we vote as a committee of the whole, or the 2 committees of the whole. So it's 23-0-0-0.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I just have one on how this appears. These are all part of one resolution, correct?
Correct.
So rather than have the bullets, which looks like they're, the way we do it, each bullet is an individual resolution for all the committees. So Marisa, when this is on the agenda, it should have the heading, a solid heading with the bullets all underneath it so that it shows that it's one resolution.
You're talking about the agenda, Vicky, not the actual resolution where I have it bulleted, correct?
I'm talking about just the way it appears. It looks to me, since.
Right,
for
on,
instance-
sorry, on the agenda, not in the body of the resolution, correct?
Right,
Okay, then I just want to make sure because it's
Yeah.
bulleted in the resolution as well. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a more recent thing.
yeah, and even under committee reports, it would say joint parks, environmental, then there'd be a dot, and then it would have the heading to the whole resolution. And under that, all of the various parades.
Sure.
Okay,
Marisa, you have that because I think that would be.
Yeah,
your
yeah,
domain. Okay.
that's how it was. And I think we're missing the top line of that on the.
oh,
agenda. So I
and those
think
are,
what
would all
happened.
be underneath it. Okay, okay, good. All right, then that takes us to T&E, EJ.
Sure. T&E had 2 resos this month. They were both bus stop location proposals from DOT. As has been our custom, most recently we held a hearing for public comment on both of them from members of the community. The first was a request by Aurora Tourism Services, doing business as New York Iconic Cruises, for a sightseeing bus stop on the west side of 7th Avenue between 56th and 57th Streets. This would have pickups and drop-offs Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., once every 2 hours. The location is currently marked no standing, and it's already licensed to 2 sightseeing bus operators, Big Bus Tours New York and Top View Sightseeing. The committee noted significant concerns from the community about this location, relating specifically to sidewalk obstructions, creating a choke point of sorts of limited sidewalk space on the northern half of the block due to the existing bus stops, a subway entrance, sidewalk grates, and sidewalk cafes. And that's important on the north half of the block because the community's second concern was lack of clarity in DOT's letter about whether they were saying stop would be on the north half of the block or the south half of the block. Those are the 2 major concerns. We also, as usual, noted and called on DOT and the new Chief Public Realm Officer to create a comprehensive plan for street use in the district, including the placement and capacity of these sightseeing buses. So we adopted this resolution of significant concern about this particular location, 11-0.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, the next one was similar, right?
Yep. The second was a request by Monroe Bus Lines for an intercity bus stop on the east side of 8th Avenue between 46th and 47th Streets. Both these operators are operators that we've seen come to us via DOT in recent months. The requested location is currently no standing. It's already licensed to 3 sightseeing bus operators, including Gray Line, Big Bus Tours, and Top View Sightseeing. The committee noted significant concerns that we heard from community members about this location, particularly it being potentially licensed to as many as 4 bus operators at once. Concern about commuter buses being added to this location being a hindrance to MTA buses that operate in the same area, and concern about sidewalk congestion, particularly being concerned by construction happening in the same area over the next 5 years. We similarly reiterated our standing board policy that all intercity bus stops should be taken off the sidewalks of the district and placed into an intercity bus terminal, like the Port Authority bus terminal, and called on DOT to plan more comprehensively for all the bus stops in the district. And we adopted this resolution of significant concern about this particular proposed location, 12-0.
Okay. That one was 12, did you say?
Yeah, that's right. These are actually not in the order we did them in the meeting. The first one was 12-0, and then someone left, and the second one was 11-0.
Oh, okay. Okay, any questions or comments on that one? Layla?
EJ, do you have a sense of how many applications are reviewed by other community boards regarding siting of bus stops?
I don't have hard and fast numbers. We have a general anecdotal sense of the fact that Community Board 4 in particular, here's a lot of these on the west side, in the area where, you know, all the mega buses and Bolt buses, I don't even know if those are the most recent buses that pick up on the west side, if they're even still called that, but a lot of them that pick up on the west side. So 4 and 6 hear a lot of these, and there certainly are, you know, a number of others. Some of the routes that we hear go on to stops east in Brooklyn. So we know other boards hear a lot of these. We are the district that hears the most of them because the center of the central business district is where everyone wants to be.
Do you think that it would be possible to get actually this data from DOT? Because if I understand correctly, they are the ones who basically funnel these applications to the various community boards, right? It's not the applicant who says, oh, I really want to be on the intersection of this and this. It's NYC DOT that says, okay, you know, you can apply to this particular site, or at least that's how they present it, right?
This goes to our kind of long-standing issues with the overall way that DOT manages this process. What happens most frequently is that an operator comes to DOT, requests a stop in a particular area, perhaps says that as many as 5 or 6 different blocks would satisfy their criteria. They want to drop someone near Times Square. They tell DOT that they're willing to drop off anywhere between 49th Street and 55th Street. DOT chooses a specific location for their stop. It actually gets even more confusing than that, because they'll often come to DOT and say, we'd like to make, 3 stops on the way to Times Square. Perhaps, I'm just making this up, one at 8th Avenue, one at 7th Avenue, and one at 6th Avenue. Anywhere between 49th and 55th Streets. DOT decides on their own how many of those to issue, decides on their own which are the best blocks at whatever interval they decide is most appropriate, doesn't really provide any of their rationale at all as to why some blocks were worse and some blocks were better. And then hands the proposed locations to us, as we've seen in recent months, not even all at once, but once per month, spread out over like 3 months.
With no explanations.
It's as scattershot and as contextless as possible. So we would love some kind of overall counting of all the bus, and we have done this in the past. We have gotten Excel spreadsheets compiled by what data was publicly available and what data DOT would provide to us at the time. And we've made our own attempts to map what bus stops were currently on the streets at a particular time. And we've tried to ask for as much context or reasoning as possible about why DOT has made these decisions. But frankly, the last few months have been the worst of it all because we're getting operators who are literally telling us they submitted 3 requests at once, and they've had to come to our committee meetings spread out across 3 months because DOT, for some reason, said, okay, we're going to send this one to the community board this month, we're going to send this one to the community board this month, and this one to the community board another month. And, sometimes it's because we're asking DOT that certain months are better, but other times it's totally inexplicable to us. We would love to see some kind of more explainable and comprehensive way of thinking about these bus stops. And there have been, to your initial question, there have been attempts by us to collect this data in the past, but in general, we're just extremely frustrated by the ad hoc and scattershot way that these come to us. And the current process that we put in place is a reaction to that.
The new wording that's going into the resolutions found no significant concern or found significant concern based on input from, mainly from the public, right?
Yeah, exactly. We have, because they come to us so ad hoc, we have no context for a given month, for a given location, what other blocks they looked at, and what maybe other stops by the same operator on the same bus line may be coming to us in future months. So we have no way of looking at this comprehensively. So we've determined that the most efficient way to assess each individual location is to limit our scope to whether or not there is community feedback and significant concern about the specific location they're currently asking us about.
Makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you, EJ. Joseph Slap didn't have an official meeting, and I don't believe there is anything to report, correct?
No major news to report, just
Okay.
that the Cannabis Task Force is continuing to work, but
Good.
no major deliverables yet.
Okay, thank you. And Bex also wound up with a no-show. And so you were planning on having a resolution, but it just, the participant didn't show up, so nothing to report. Okay. All right, then that ends the committee reports. Is there any new business or old business from the exec committee? If not, there's no new business or old business from the public because there is no public as I see it, right? Yeah, no attendees. Right. Okay, well then I will see you all on Thursday evening. This meeting is adjourned. Go and have an earlier than usual dinner. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.